Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and it looks like Brad Garlinghouse is going to be joining David Schwartz at XRP Ledger Apex in 2024, which is going to be in Amsterdam. There's a lot going on, folks. Ripple X here, the XLS-30 AMM is now live on the XRP Ledger. Evolution of XRP's native DEX, and they did a whole thread on it. And then David Schwartz came in and retweeted this, and he said, after 2 years, the day has finally arrived. The AMM is live on XRPL mainnet. Thus begins a longer road from today's initial rollout to future growth milestones for users, traders, devs, market makers, and many more. We're looking forward to the journey alongside all of you in the XRPL community. Now, little refresher here. Here's David Schwartz talking about what this will do.
Object, which is the AMM. I am unreasonably excited about this for largely personal reasons. I've spent a lot of time studying things like trading strategies and Forex markets, and this is near and dear to my heart. I also learned something that I didn't know, which is as I watched automated market makers develop on other chains, I sort of thought that automated market makers were better than order books. That like we implemented order books on the XRP ledger because it's sort of like the obvious thing. And then there's this really cool thing called an automated market maker that most other like DeFi platforms are using, most other DEXs are using. And I learned as I looked into it that they're very complementary. They are not one or the other. One is not better than the other. They each have their own advantages and disadvantages. And the two of them together is way better than anything that you could get from having either one independently. And XLS-30 is not just another AMM implementation. This was not the XRP ledger playing catch up. We were caught up with an order book. This is a true innovation. The XRP ledger is a trusted and leading enabler of DeFi because the underlying architecture of the ledger, combined with the protocol native design of the decentralized exchange and soon the AMM, will address most of the pain points faced in the decentralized liquidity landscape today. The XRPL's DEX was launched in 2012, the first DEX in the world, tokenization of any asset, the ability to trade and move these tokens anywhere in the world in just seconds, and open, globally competitive liquidity. Now, adding AMM to that, AMM, first and foremost, as I think about it, most people think of an AMM first and foremost as providing liquidity. I think of it first and foremost as a trading engine. Ripple X is focused on differentiating the world's first DEX through automated market making. The AMM specification is now on DevNet for testing, and it'll be available to vote on mainnet, I think just in a couple of days. But ultimately, I see the AMM as a trading engine. It executes a trading strategy on behalf of those people who sort of provide the liquidity. So as most of you probably know, an AMM has a pile of two assets, and it makes markets between those two assets. But it's also implementing a yield. So if you were an Apple buyer and seller and the prices of apples were different around the world, you could go around the world buying and selling apples and make a profit. And what you would have is you'd have a pile of apples and a pile of currency, whatever currency you like, euros or dollars. And you would buy apples and your pile of apples would go up and your pile of currency would go down. And you would do that when the price was low. And then you would sell apples, right, when the price of apples was comparatively higher. And if you do that, eventually your pile of money will get bigger. And that is essentially what the AMM tries to do. It implements a trading strategy to harvest volatility on behalf of the liquidity providers who loan it assets.
Okay, good explanation. Now, he's going to be doing today's the 23rd, he's going to be doing a March 25th, he's doing a Spaces with on X with Jazzy Cooper, who is DeFi products at Ripple. And then these two companies, Axelar Network and Orchestra Finance, to talk about the AMM integration. Now, here's one of them, Orchestra Finance. Here's their liquidity pools right here. You can see how you can earn fees there. Now, I would caution everybody. I don't when this kind of stuff happens. My XRP, I don't just run out and start doing stuff like this because I need to make sure everything's safe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit back and watch for a little bit and see and test some of this stuff. But I'm certainly not diving in head first with a bunch of my XRP. Now, check this out. Robert Mitchnick, who's with BlackRock and used to work for Ripple. This is him at Anthony Pompliano held a Bitcoin investor conference up in New York. I think it was in New York yesterday, I believe. And this is him at the conference.
Here with Robbie Mitchnick, who is the head of digital assets over at BlackRock. Thanks so much for taking the time here with us today.
Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. I mean, first of its kind event that we're seeing here in New York for Bitcoin Investor Day. You got to tell us, for BlackRock, and how you're approaching and looking at and exploring Bitcoin and cryptocurrency more broadly. I mean, how did the conversation really matriculate within the firm?
Yeah, well, this has been a multi-year journey for us, starting back really 2016 kind of time frame. And as this space and this asset class has evolved over multiple years, from an infrastructure perspective, from a regulatory perspective, from a client interest and focus perspective, you've seen our strategy kind of evolve with that to take us to the point where we are today.
And so when you think about education and how you go out to so many of your clients that are out there, what those discussions entail, I mean, what is the education that they already come forward with? And then where do you kind of take it one step further as well?
Yeah. Well, our clients are at kind of all stages of the journey, right? As you can imagine. So with some clients, they're at a very advanced stage. They already hold Bitcoin, sometimes positions in multiple crypto assets, and they're looking for our perspectives on market dynamics and what we're seeing in terms of portfolio construction and other considerations. And others are much earlier in the journey. This is a new topic for them. They want to understand kind of the fundamentals and the technology and how it works. And so we have those conversations across the spectrum.
What are you hearing from your clients right now with regards to interest in Bitcoin, interest in cryptocurrency more broadly, and whether they want to be crypto touching specifically or whether they want to go into a more traditional asset like an ETF perhaps?
Right. Well, what we're seeing is that investors are resoundingly choosing IBIT for Bitcoin access, right? That's a combination of investors who are new to Bitcoin and those who maybe held exposure in a different form historically. What our clients, I think, are most focused on is trying to understand risks, upside, downside, thoughts around portfolio construction, how to think about the risk in a larger diversified portfolio context. So those are the kinds of discussions we're having a lot.
Just lastly, while we have you here, a lot of people wondering what's the next big inflection point for Bitcoin, for cryptocurrency more broadly. What is that from your perspective? What should we be watching for?
Yeah, well, I don't think there's maybe one specific thing that we're looking at. I think it's a combination of, over time, as more clients, more investor types across various, archetypes, some of the big institutions, their education and research journey, some of our wealth advisory partners, they're on their own sort of diligence and education journey, and those will slowly play out. In the early days, it's been a lot of sort of end investor direct and ultra high net worth, and that's going to evolve as more investors get comfortable with the asset.
Robbie, thanks so much for taking.
Now, here's what's interesting about Robbie Mitchnick. Here's a tweet where they're pointing out that he scrubbed from his LinkedIn profile the fact that he worked at Ripple. And I said, so Mitchnick doesn't want anyone to know he worked at Ripple, where he came up with the fundamental valuation framework for XRP. Now we're supposed to believe that he really went and sold Larry Fink on Bitcoin, but just didn't discuss the piles of money that could be made with an XRP ETF, which Larry Fink can't talk about, by the way. My igloo is still for sale in South Georgia if you buy any of that. Folks, Robbie Mitchnick knows full well what XRP is compared to Bitcoin, or more specifically, what Bitcoin is not and cannot do that XRP can do. He knows. So the question is, why are all the eyeballs? It's look at Bitcoin, almost the way that fool's gold fools people. Stare at Bitcoin, keep staring. Now, I'm not going to go far into this, but here's Elizabeth Warren, and I want to make sure anytime she says anything that's her typical hypocrisy, I make sure here she's reintroducing her ultra millionaire tax, and she's bashing, doing her class warfare thing, bashing millionaires and billionaires. And then I went to Grok AI and got them to list out all of her billionaire and millionaire donors, so that you can see what a hypocritical liar she is. Now, for some refreshment, vote for John Deaton. You can go to johndeatonforsenate.com. I donated big time to John Deaton's. I donated big time to John Deaton's campaign. Actually, did it this morning. So I'm not just talking about donating. It's johndeatonforsenate.com, and here he is.
Hey everybody, John Deaton. Are you tired of the division? Are you tired of the dysfunction? Are you tired of the partisan politics, the identity politics, the class warfare, pitting American versus American? If you are, change is on the way. A lot of people think I can't win this race, and they're wrong. I've made a life of making the impossible possible, and I'm going to do it again in this race. If you're tired of the division, then vote Deaton.
Love it. All right, and then we've got this. Now, folks, I'm telling you, we are directly over the target. Bitcoin, I'm telling you, most of crypto is an intelligence operation, and in DAIXRP.com, I'm going to prove to you, not prove to you that it's an intelligence operation, but I'm going to tie a key figure to it. Listen to what Lynette Zhang says. Brad Garlinghouse has tried to tell you all along, folks.
Since you brought up Bitcoin, because I've been watching Bitcoin since it was $7 a coin. So I've been watching it pretty close to since its inception. Personally, I do not think it was a coincidence that Bitcoin launched in January of 2009 and quantitative easing launched in March of 2009.
It's also not a coincidence that they wrote into the white paper a reference to the bailouts. They wanted to make this thing look like a libertarian movement so that they could draw in the potential gold investors and get them to put their money in Bitcoin instead.
And I don't think that, reading the NSA white paper from 96 about how to make a mint, can you imagine, had Bitcoin not come out, how much more of this fiat crap would have actually gone into physical gold and physical silver?
Yep.
So could that not be one? It was a tool of look over here and do this, right?
Where have you heard that before?
But also a tool to get people used to the digital currencies, right? Because that's how they do that. That's how they make that transfer.
Train the herds.
Is they want it to be as normal or seem as normal as possible.
Yeah.
I know there are a lot of people that would like me to feel differently and about cryptocurrencies, and
she's about to say it, the key word.
The reality is you have to show me what their functionality is.
Oh, you mean functionality like utility?
The long-term value of any digital asset, I think, is going to be correlated with utility if it's solving a problem. And I think, as we've discussed, there's a lot of them that either, I don't think they ever were intended to solve a problem, or they won't be successful. But I think there will be digital assets that solve a problem, that have utility, and maybe, yes, for some it'll be solving an anonymity problem. Maybe for some it'll be solving a security settlement problem. But I think over a long arc of time, if there's value, if there's utility, then the market will appreciate that.
Now, against that backdrop, here's Anthony Pompliano, who is Bitcoin, right? I'm telling you, folks, in order to do what Lynette Zhang, forgot to mention, she is going to be at XRP Las Vegas. The tornado sirens are about to go. Don't worry, we'll be okay, folks. But Lynette Zhang's going to be at XRP Las Vegas, and I said maybe Brad Garlinghouse can join her on stage. We know Brad Garlinghouse is going to the Chamber of Commerce dinner, so he's going to be in Las Vegas. I haven't heard whether or not he's going to be at XRP Las Vegas itself, but I don't see why on earth he would go all the way to Las Vegas for Chamber of Digital Commerce, but not even show his face at XRP Las Vegas. So you can get your tickets here, by the way, and just as a reminder, anybody who buys a general admission ticket between now and the end of March will get their nice Las Vegas dinner bought on me and on Brad Combs. We're gonna you and your plus one, and we're also doing it for someone and their plus one in our private groups. Mine's DAIXRP.com. Now, so against that backdrop, you got Anthony Pompliano, who's not a dumb guy, but he's one of the look. And folks, I'll tell you very clearly, I believe that there are a handful, maybe a few thousand of the major people in crypto who have always known that Bitcoin was this thing to draw everybody's attention to. I believe that there's intelligence involved. I believe that's as far as I'll go. I think there's 3-letter agencies. We'll talk more about, and look, I'm gonna lay the groundwork and show you when we get in the group in DAIXRP.com. I'm gonna show you. I'm not just gonna talk about it, but I just wanted to remind you, there's a reason this guy right here just talks about Bitcoin.
Bitcoin obviously
and
is,
it's not because of how great Bitcoin is.
one of the best performing assets, a $1 trillion asset now, and it's infiltrated now into the traditional financial world. And so most of the conversation has been around Bitcoin, the Bitcoin investors, the holders, kind of the crypto community. But now that Wall Street is interested in this, Wall Street is used to a different type of event, right? They're used to.
We don't have to play any more of that, but I'm going to make my point, which is there's a reason that this guy has spent the last few years intentionally pretending that he doesn't understand XRP and it's only Bitcoin and all that stuff. I believe it's because he's a part of an intelligence operation. That's what I believe. I think I can get pretty close to proving it. I'm going to do it in DAIXRP.com. If you think Bitcoin went on a tear once CNBC and institutional investors learned about it, just wait until they discover Ripple, XRP. I believe somewhere in 2017-ish is when somebody got this guy to start pumping Bitcoin. And I think that I think it's by design, I think it's intentional. This was him when he was interviewing Brad Garlinghouse, and he's trying to act, this is the thing that I've noticed with this guy. He tries to play dumb all the time, but he's not dumb. Tries to play dumb like, oh, I just don't get it, and that's just not true.
Okay, well, let me ask 2 questions.
Okay.
Do you think the Chinese Communist Party could, if they wanted to, control those 4 miners?
No.
That's what gave us the meme look on Brad Garlinghouse's face right there. Okay, so in DAIXRP.com, let's go look. Who is this guy, really? I mean, he's who is this guy? I've met him in person, folks. And what I can tell you for 100% sure, I've met a lot of influencers, and there's really 2 categories of influencers. There are people that you meet that are influencers in crypto or in any kind of influencers, and you've met them. You meet somebody, and you immediately know that, hey, this is a genuine person. It's the same person I listen to. Or you meet them, and you're like, wow, that person is not who they put themselves out to be on social media. Well, I know which category he's in. I'll tell you in the group. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, tell your friends and family. I'm going to go in the group today. I'm going to show you why, one of the many reasons I'm so convinced that Bitcoin is a literal intelligence operation.